Hey, it's Tom Rose from the Lord's New Church with the word of the day today. And oddly enough, it's going to be the word quarantine. Quarantine, it means 40 days. Quarantine. Quarantine. It traces back, you can look it up and find when it started and what it means. Primarily, it seems to originate in modern usage in the Venetian language in the 14th to 15th century, when all ships were designated to be in an isolated area before passengers and crews could go ashore during the Black Death. But you can find that there's different things that are referred to about its origins, but it does mean 40 and 10, 4 and 10, 40. It traced back to biblical times. In the book of Leviticus, there was which was 600 or 700 years BC, there was a description of isolating people who might have a disease, leprosy. If their skin looked a certain way, priests were supposed to put them aside by themselves for 7 days, then check them again, and then another 7 if they still showed signs. And so the idea of isolating to protect has been around since biblical times. And also the idea of 40 shows up a lot. In fact, some say the idea of isolation around the word quarantine goes back to the Lord's 40 days in the wilderness of temptation. I say 40 years because the children of Israel were in the wilderness for 40 years. Moses was up on Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. The flood, Noah's flood, 40 days, 40 nights. And so we have the idea that 40 is an idea of completeness, because in New Church language that we get from our revelation, we call the Third Testament in the Lord's New Church, we're taught about 4 being a number that means complete, and 10 a number that means complete, and 40 means complete, a complete state, but it also means, and is particular to temptations, struggles, trials. And so the passage in the work Secrets of Heaven, Arcana Celestia, says this, Arcana 730, 40 days and 40 nights means the duration of a temptation, which is clear in the word of the Lord. It means all temptations, however long the duration. However long the duration, all temptations. And so we're all going through this together. It's not easy. We're staying at home for the sake of others and ourselves. Staying home, staying away from each other, isolating for the sake of each other. And so we're in an isolated state, and a lot of things can come up for us. So I invite you to practice a different kind of isolation in your own thoughts. You can take your thoughts and feelings about this that are invasive and pervasive, causing anxiety. I'm not saying all the time. We acknowledge that these thoughts and feelings are real. We all know this. They're real. Experience them. But you can take them for a time for your own mental health and isolate those thoughts. Put them aside, those thoughts and feelings. Just say, yes, I feel that way, and I need to put that over here for a time and think about other things. Or we might experience real anger and frustration and actually act on that. Maybe we could just take those behaviors and take even the feeling of anger and for a time isolate those things and come out away from them so that we can be in a positive place. And so this is a thought about isolating these things for the sake of our mental health. Put them aside, and even go into another room and isolate yourself if things are getting rough was another idea. So So that's the thought for the day. Quarantine, and maybe do some sub-quarantining, some mini quarantining, so that we can stay on top of this in terms of our mental and spiritual health. So we'll talk to you again. Meanwhile, blessings to you.